You just want to be on video and on podcast, don't you? I love you too. I love you too. You're a big boy. You're such a good boy. Yes. So, hey you guys. How you doing? So, on an Older Gay Guy Show podcast this week, I told 3 stories about my time at Boston Conservatory of Music. And they were like really crazy shit that happened at Boston Conservatory. And so do check that out on an Older Gay Guy Show podcast. There are 3 stories. One's called The Asshole Conductor, one's called The Dance Belt Adjustment, and one is called The Orgy Organizer or something like that. And I think you'll find them very interesting. But the best is going to be the story that I'm going to tell you now, and I'm calling it The Drama Teacher's Dripping Manhood. And I don't think I'm going to actually put that as the title on YouTube, but just so you know, within the content here, that's really the title of it. But it's about this drama class that I took when I changed to a musical theater major. Back in the 70s, when I went to Boston Conservatory of Music, I started out as a voice major, piano minor. Then I changed to musical theater for 1.5 years, and then I went back to voice. But during my time as a musical theater major, you had to do all kinds of different classes to kind of give you a really rounded experience so that when you become a performer, then you'll really know what you're doing. So you had to take singing classes and dance classes and all of this, but of course you had to take drama classes. And the drama teacher that I had was only there for 1 year. And I think you're gonna realize why he was only there for 1 year when I tell you this story. So here I was, brand new in the musical theater department, along with some other people, and we went and we took this acting class that was held in this really big, dark room where they do a lot of rehearsals for the productions that Boston Conservatory would put on several times per year. And this room was just kind of like a backstage area. It was very big, black, very low lighting. You could crank the lighting up so it was bright, but this particular teacher kept that lighting really low. And so a group of us go in for the first day, and he says to us, this is going to be a class like no other drama class that you've ever had, because I have a particular method how I'm going to do this class, and I guarantee it's going to be an experience that you will not forget. And here I am, 40 years later, over 40 years, and no, I have never forgotten this. So this teacher starts out by saying he has this method where we're going to really get in touch with our emotions and what's inside of us. We're really going to find out what kinds of characters exist within us by having the experiences that he is going to take us through. So the first day of class, he has us take our shoes and socks off and roll our pants up. The women were wearing skirts generally or something. So we're all barefoot in this room. And he said, I want you to get in touch with how your body feels. So I want you to pair up. It could be guy, woman, whatever. And I want you to sit so that your legs are out straight and your feet, the soles of your feet, are touching together. And they paired up, and me and this guy that I kind of knew a little bit, he and I paired up. And so we sit down and we have our feet pressed together. And the teacher's, okay, I want you to feel that your toes are connecting to the other person. And the way you're going to do that is you're going to allow your toes to come together and push against each other and really experiment with how your feet feel and whether you can feel that come up your legs and maybe have an experience in your upper body because of what you're doing. So we're all sitting down and we're like, well, this is a little weird, but what the fuck? So this guy and I press our bare feet together. I have this little thing for guys' feet, like jock kind of feet. And I was 18 or 19 at the time. The other guy was the same age. So we were young. We had, younger, nice feet. As you get older, it gets a little bit dicey on your feet. But this is when we were really young. And we're pressing the soles together and we're entwining our toes and kind of doing a battle of the toes back and forth. And as we're doing this, to be honest with you, I'm getting like a little bit of slight boner going on because it was just so hot. So we did that for like 15 minutes and he's like, okay, so everybody tell me what you felt with this. And not a lot of people really spoke up. It was like, well, we felt what the other person is and how similar they are to us, or maybe how different they are to us. The women and the guys that were together had more to say about the difference in their feet, and some said they even felt a little bit sexual by doing that. And the guy and guys that were paired, there was like 3 sets of 2 guys. I was one of them. We didn't really have a lot to say. It was like, well, yeah, we felt something. It was a little unusual, but it's cool. And okay, so we come back to another class. And now he says, okay, I want everybody to really experience from the navel up to the top of your heads. I want you to get to know your bodies in that respect. So I want all the guys to take your shirts off, and the women, I assume you're wearing a bra, take off your top and just be in your bra. And the guys were like, okay, yeah, sure, whatever. And we pulled our shirts off. And the women, of course, were like, geez, you want us to strip down to our bra? And the guy's like, well, if you're going to be an actress, sometimes you're going to have to do stuff. The director's going to ask you to do stuff that maybe is part of the film and you didn't expect it. This isn't nudity. This is just getting a little bit more skin showing. So we all did that. And now we paired up. And what he wanted us to do is to take our hands out, press our hands together, and then bend our knees and come closer together. And with each of our hands, explore. Fuck, I can't believe he did this. Explore the other's upper body. And I was with this guy again. We all paired up the same way we were in the former class. And so this guy and I are hands to hands, entwining our fingers a little bit. And then we're now at a point where we're starting to feel each other's chest and belly. And it was like really a sexual thing. I wasn't out as a gay person at that point, as I mentioned on the podcast. So this experience with this other guy was really hot for me, but I didn't want anybody to know that. So I just kind of hid my boner starting a little bit, and that was the class. And then it wasn't the entire class. The class was an hour. We did these exercises for like 15-20 minutes, and then he had us do other things like following shadows and all kinds of stuff. But these connections of people, the way he started us connecting with people, was a very unusual thing. So he said, okay, I want you now to not only explore your partner that you have been paired with previously and now, but I want you to do the same exercise with some other people. And so I was moved to this girl, And she had a bra on, and I was sleeping with girls at the time. Not a lot. I think I slept with a couple at Boston Conservatory. But we had this experience where, I'm like feeling her breast in her bra, and she's running her hands up my chest. Ironically, or maybe not, I did not stir in my nether regions at all. I was not getting excited at all. Not on that one. And then he said, okay, and he took off his own shirt. Now, this is the teacher, and he's probably late 30s, I'd say, 37, 38, 39. He takes off his shirt, and he says, okay, I'm going to start pairing with some of you, and I'm going to do exploring on you. Okay. So we all sat down, and the teacher, one-on-one, comes to us, and we do that exercise of feeling him while he feels us. And this being the 1970s, oddly enough, like none of us at this point thought that, oh, this teacher's really fucked. He's doing like such bizarre things and he really shouldn't be doing this kind of thing. We didn't think that way. We're just like, oh, we're supposed to be actors. We're supposed to go with the flow. So that's what we're going to do. So a couple more classes go by. We do some normal stuff. And then he said one day when we came in, he said, okay, we're really going to go for it now. So he said, what I want you to do is leave your tops on, but I want you to take your pants off and be barefoot. And for the women, if you're wearing pants, pull those off so you're in just your, women's underwear. And if you're wearing a skirt or something, back then, if you wore a skirt, you wore pantyhose. It was just the thing to do. So he's like, I want you to take at least your pantyhose off. And we are all kind of looking back and forth with each other like, this is weird. And the teacher's like, I know you might feel a little uncomfortable about this, so I'm going to start. And the teacher, the instructor, takes his pants off, and he's barefoot, and he's just wearing white jockey underwear. And he's like, okay, guys, come on, girls, let's go. And so we all took our pants off. And back then in the 70s, it was like white jockey underwear. That's what like everybody wore. So all the guys are in our white jockey shorts. We have our tops on. And he's like, pair up again, pair up with your original partners. And we're going to now explore below the waist. And everybody's like, really? Like, we're going to do this? So me and this guy, we pair up again, and we're seated opposite each other, and then he tells everybody to slide closer, and he's like, now I want you to explore from the feet all the way up to the navel. And it was a really weird experience, but it was the 70s. We were being told to do this. We were being told that actors will do this. This is an exercise that will help you be an actor. So, okay, the guy and I start exploring each other, our feet. Woo, that was nice. Slowly up the legs. Feel the hair on the legs, he'd say. Feel the musculature of the legs. Feel up around the crotch area. Just don't go too far, he says. Okay. So we're starting to get up there, and then my hands are like against this guy's, my partner's crotch. And I didn't want to like grab his balls or grab his dick or anything. So I'm just kind of pressing my hands there. And then I moved away to the hips and the butt a little bit as I could reach it. The guy was doing the same to me. Once again, I was getting a little excited, and now I'm in my underwear. It's a little bit harder to hide it. But fortunately, I had a big shirt on, like I wear a lot of big shirts. And so I kind of had my shirt down over my underwear so that people really couldn't see what was going on, except for the partner I was with. Of course, he could feel what was going on. And after he felt what was going on, he started to get a boner too. This was a straight dude. I had known him a little bit. I had known him from doing some chorus stuff with him. And, you know, we weren't friends that we did anything social together, but we talked, we knew each other. And in this class, obviously, we were getting to know each other a little bit more, shall we say. So after that exercise, and the teacher's in his underwear, he said, okay, now we are really going to go for it. Stay in your underwear, stay barefoot, now take your tops off too. And we did. I mean, we were being told to, and we did what we were told. So we took our shirts off. So now the guys are just in their white jockey shorts. I think boxers were maybe just starting their comeback from what they had been, you know, back in the 50s or 60s or whatever. And a couple of guys began to wear it in boxers, but almost all had these white jockey shorts. And so now we are very visible to each other. And in this state, without our shirts, without our pants, he had us do the exercises of feeling the whole body, feet to the top of the head, with our partners, and then he'd switch once to someone else, and then once again, he's in his white jockey shorts, no shirt, no pants, no shoes. He again says, I'm going to get with each one of you, and I want to experience what you're experiencing. Think of like today. Think of today's world. And if a teacher was ever doing this stuff, I mean, even back to the feet together thing, probably would be something that would be reported and questioned. Certainly, once you took your tops off, everybody, I'm sure that teacher would be in trouble. But back then, no, you could do what you did, I guess. So he pairs with me at one point, and he's like very firmly, very strong hands, feeling my body, squeezing my body, squeezing my crotch, squeezing my ass, touching my face, feeling my lips. It was creepy. It was exciting. It was taboo. And I was into it. I was having a nice time. The teacher was attractive. My partner that I had was attractive. And so that was that class. And we all left. And, you know, some of us socialized after class or whatever. And we're like, can you believe what he did? I mean, he had us down to our underwear doing this. Yeah, is that comfortable? And are we going to now have to take our underwear off? Because that might be the breaking point. So sure enough, a couple classes later, he does like normal classes in between, normal classes where you're improvising, you know, where you're doing readings together. And then he'd throw these other things in every few classes. And then the final class at the end of the semester, he had us back down to our underwear, no shirts, no shoes, no socks. He was down to his white underwear. And he's like, okay, now we're going to experiment horizontally with each other. But I don't want you to physically touch each other until I tell you that you can. I want you to get with these people, and I want you to make love to them, make love to each other without touching. So I did it with my partner. We just did, it's really hard to explain. My partner laid on his back in his underwear on like this platform, and I got up on top of him horizontally, but holding myself up on, I forget if I was on my hands or probably my forearms. And yeah, because my hands had to be free. And I would come as close as possible, and I was doing the kissing thing, kind of, and a little bit, but not touching. Hands all around the body, almost touching, but not quite, and really like getting kind of excited in us. We were trying, it's so weird to explain this. We were trying to make love to each other without physically touching. And therefore, he wanted us to get passion out to the point where our heart would be racing, where our breathing would change, where it would start to get flushed. And me and this guy were doing this. And at one point, the teacher says, "No, you're not being passionate about it. You're trying to just be above people and not really touch them, not really get into it. I don't want you to physically touch, but I really want you to physically get into this." He said, "Let me demonstrate." And he walked to the center of the room. And again, this room's pretty dark, but there's like a light on the center of the room. And he's in his white jockey shorts, and he stands there, and he bends his legs a little bit, and he starts breathing heavy. And his whole body's like getting into this, right? And as we're watching him, the guy gets a boner. A real, there it is, full boner as he's working himself up. And he keeps doing this. He's doing this for like 6 or 7 minutes. And he's like this beast. And we started to see in his underwear this wet spot start to appear. Like, oh my God, it's like, hopefully it's pre-cum. Hopefully he didn't shoot a load or something, but it's probably pre-cum dripping out. And he's turning all beastly red, and his mouth starts to spit, and he starts to drool, and he's just worked himself up into such a state. And then he stops, wipes his mouth, and that's what I want you to do, but I want you to be horizontal. All right, so we get back in our partners, and we're kind of over each other, and I said to the guy, "Okay, I guess we're going to do this, right?" So we're like, and kind of almost touching, but not quite, kissing, getting flushed, breathing heavy. We're trying to do what he just did, get ourselves worked up. And then he says, "Now touch." And I went right down to that guy, right against that guy, and I shoved my tongue in his mouth. This dude was straight, but fuck it. He was back to me too. So once we connected in reality, then yeah, I'm licking him and sucking him in his mouth, kissing him on the neck, rubbing my hands down, rubbing my hands over his dick and balls, which were hard as mine were as well. And we're just like really into it. And fortunately, none of us really got a wet spot like the teacher did, but it was really noticeable. Not only had he gotten the wetness in the front of his underwear, but just that drool coming out, and it's going down his chest, and he's like yelling and screaming at the top of his lungs and getting into this. And I mean, can you imagine what would happen to this teacher in today's world, he would be thrown in jail, I'm sure. I'm sure people would refuse to do what he's asking. They'd go and report him. He'd probably be fired. He might have legal things against him. So that was the end of the semester. That was later, after we finished our making love sessions, he said, that is your final test. And I'm going to grade you all on what I saw, how passionate you were. And when I said touch each other, how much you got into that. He said, because remember, you might have to do this if you're acting in a film or a TV show or even on stage. So you want to be able to bring up these sexual feelings. And I'm going to grade you on that. And I got an A. Not surprising. I was really into it. And so that was the end of that class with him. We went to another teacher for the next semester. But I was like, I will never forget this class. A few years after that, like, I used to think about this so much, I started whacking off to the thought of doing that straight guy because he was so hot. I'm sure he became an actor that was fairly successful, because he was just beautiful, muscly body. He just was so hot. Had that white jockey underwear on that I still love. Well, that was my experience with this teacher, and not surprisingly, he did another semester with different people, and then after that year, he was not on the faculty the next year. And we didn't really hear what happened. Or maybe people reported him, I don't know. But we moved on to other things in the theater, and we didn't really talk about it anymore. But it's something that I have never forgotten, that teacher started just dripping from his mouth, dripping from his dick, feeling us up, having us feel him up. It was crazy. It was crazy. I will be back in a few days. I did promise a full body stretch episode, and I'll be doing that. I'm just trying to convince Paco to help me out down there so I can film him doing the exercises and I can do the description and the corrections. Anyways, thank you for joining me today.